The June monthly report. Like I said, the biggest thing here is going to be this core gameplay session. We have a lot of stuff to talk about there. In June, the AI content continued to support several initiatives for Alpha 4.9. They also worked alongside mission design to set up comms calls and NPCs for several upcoming missions and locations. AI content then supported a performance capture shoot to ensure that the content will flow seamlessly once the audio is mastered and animations are solved. Alongside this, the team planned out some narrative-driven initiatives for new behaviors and directions to explore. Not a ton. This is stuff we mostly expected. Comms calls, definitely with these missions that are coming up. Even Recco has a comms call. AI content generally taking the stuff that AI features and tech works on and applying it into things in the game. So this will be more specific, but this is usually more forward-looking. So see what they say here. Last month saw AI features and tech fix an issue with the super heavy NPCs not being able to use their miniguns. Some human AI issues were fixed too, including NPCs continuing to fire at targets they could not see. Oh my god. I really hope that's fixed for good. For the Apex Valakar, the devs introduced the ability to constrain it to an area while avoiding another. It also received laser and EMP attacks. What? I haven't seen anything about this on the airwaves. Is this not mention worthy? Why does the Valakar have... I am reading this right, yeah? Okay, cool. Sick. This is a freaking Valakar's a Gundam. It gained also the ability to switch between attacks, and improvements were made to surface sound detection. For the Yormandi, a bug causing it to get stuck in reactions was fixed. See, I would expect the Yormandi to have laser and EMP. The Valakar, that's wild. Good for it. It's been, I guess, working out. Although not yet integrated into the PU, improvements were made to the flight AI for fleeing behind objects and counter-chasing behaviors. I kind of like that. And updates were made to general flight behavior. All right, let's drop back to CitizenCon. No, we don't even have to search that. This presentation here. You guys remember this? This part. So this was the reintroduction of the Sandworm that they introduced back in 2016 and then never got to us. And the idea behind this battle, I believe it was in Star Citizen Live, they said that this ended up being not fun. And so they kind of went back to figuring out how they could build a conflict around a Sandworm that was sandbox focused, so it could happen in multiple places. It had the Sandworm actually move around and do these kinds of dives in, get baited, and have multiple stages to the fight. But also have it be multi-platform, ships, vehicles, people. So this is not the same as what we have in Stormbreaker, which is just FPS combat. And we've been seeing updates about this throughout the monthly report. We'll probably see more throughout this monthly report as well, that they have been getting closer and closer to getting this into a place where they want it to be in the game, roaming around a moon or moons and attacking people, allowing for you to do what they like to call monster hunting. It's going to be a whole part of the game, actually. This presentation just had an entire thing about like the variants they were going to make, the matrix they were going to make, the whole point of this, and then all of the different aliens that they wanted to have in the game. It's a lot. So, all that to say, this actually might be something significant added to the game fairly soon. And when I say fairly soon, I mean like in the next 8 months. I don't think this is a priority for them right now, but the stuff that they're talking about is becoming more and more polished, more and more complex, and I think getting closer and closer to release. But they've been talking about it a while. Animation. The animation team fleshed out animations for the Apex Valakar while planning for the next round of creatures. They also worked on the mission giver Battalia, both in her physical location and when spoken to over comms. It's kind of disconcerting the way she looks over comms. I'm trying not to make any calls yet, but I quite liked her original appearance. The concept art and her original appearance in game are a little bit different, but the biggest thing her character has, like the most notable thing she has, is she's kind of grizzled and unhappy with the world because of her injury, and so she had this kind of cybernetic they spent a lot of time working on and modeling and figuring out the animations for, and I'm hoping she still has that. I think that was a nice bit of character art. On the character side, the character art team spent the month working on a new armor set, mission rewards, updates to the Ninetales gang, and other upcoming items. Support for the StarWear initiative continued too. Alongside this, the concept art team progressed with a new combat armor. The StarWear initiative is pretty important. You guys know it quite well, I imagine, if you come here often. If you don't, this is how they introduced StarWear. If it's not super clear what this is, it is combinations of clothing and armor. But this is something people have been asking for a long time. Them Chris Roberts dance moves. So throughout the monthly report, we'll probably hear more about this. We actually will. I know we will. And this is a good one to keep an eye on, because this is the kind of thing that is like, oh, I want to play with the ability to only do stealth stuff. No, this is how you figure out what armor you like. And this is why those flight suits have started to be a thing. You can actually find flight suits right here. Best overall G-force, and I guess good EVA mobility. Didn't know that. So that's StarWear. Now we're going to skip over art on the ship section. That's coming after this. We'll come back with the ship sheet. Art on the weapons section, though, doesn't always happen. In June, the weapons team continued through the final phase of production on a new large caliber weapon. I like large caliber weapons, those are fun. In addition, they pushed forward with content for upcoming patches and numerous weapon paints for various upcoming events. The team's ongoing material polish passes and updates continued too, and they're looking forward to upcoming tech that will require cross-team collaboration. Bar Citizen stuff, some community things, player-to-player trade update. That really gave people a fun fright that didn't end up happening. But onwards to core gameplay. Oh my gosh, this is the best part of the monthly report in my opinion, and it's huge this month, so I won't waste time like I already have. In June, the core gameplay team shifted focus to a dedicated bug fixing push alongside the player experience and QA teams. This is what we just read about in the roadmap roundup. Much of the month was spent identifying the root causes of issues affecting day-to-day gameplay, including problems with hangar and freight elevator flow, quantum travel, star map routing, and vehicles being falsely destroyed or were flagged for claim. Alongside this, the team kept moving forward on a range of content, technology, and feature initiatives. So that was them just rehashing the stuff that went down with the 4.8 complaints and the fixes they want to do with 4.9 and going on. Now the new stuff. Well, almost. The upcoming Apocalypse Arms Heavy Machine Gun received support for magazines mounted to the Super Heavy Suit's backpack. Players can now load magazines into the backpack by hand, even when it's worn by another player. And empty magazines now eject automatically. This work also prompted a smaller rework of explosion damage so that it spreads more evenly across body parts. Plus, fixes for the ammo count display and magazines failing to eject correctly. I saw some folks saying that there is gameplay like this in Helldivers. You have somebody who's running something that's a little more powerful, and so the person who's with them has to do the reloading. I like that. It does seem like players can reload themselves here. I think it would have been cooler for them to just make it strong enough that it needed to be balanced by somebody else reloading it and healing with it. I've heard that you don't necessarily have to have somebody heal you as well. So we'll see how they balance this out. They got themselves another month of development on it, so they can keep balancing it in then and even after then. But for now, it's certainly an interesting addition to the game. I think we can probably find a quick example of it on YouTube. Super heavy armor. So this is the armor they're talking about. This is the gun. all of the ammo is magazine belt fed from this backpack, and the backpack's used for nothing else but carrying the ammo. Clearly, it just shoots for a really long time. But I guess this would be an interesting anti-ship deterrent, maybe. But I do feel like we don't have enough stuff to make this super useful yet. That being said, it is a cool asset for the game at large and long term. I'll be interested in seeing how people use it, or how we use it. Continuing on from that, they said supporting the HMD also required changes to the melee system to handle different buttstock strike damage values, which fixed a bug where they weren't dealing damage at all. Separately, holographic previews for tractor beamed items now use each item's attachable offset where available, making their appearance more accurate. For item recovery, the team finished a basic version of the individual item claim mode and began work on the full version. The full version, I'm guessing, being the ability to item claim entire ships worth of stuff, maybe? You can see that it says on-site and off-site here when you're looking at your warehouse claim mode. You got free claims for paints. It shows you the price to claim for... So this is literally like a buyback store. The idea of don't fly without rebuy becomes more real every update. But it's also interesting because this only occurs for things that you've purchased. This is the claim system. Or maybe this is also just talking about things you've insured in game. Fixes went in for bricked ships that remain flyable after a full component swap, and for loadouts not being respected after a claim. Claim timer improvements also continued to cut down on unnecessary claims. Ships destroyed while inside a hangar can now be claimed for free. Yay. Continuing on, this is where it gets interesting for StarWear. A new tool validates and repairs player and NPC loadouts, catching the setup errors that would otherwise break compatibility. The team also added clothing prerequisites for certain armors. For example, the Caldera Novikov suit may require a specific clothing item to be worn first. Work also began on StarWear's UI, which took several iterations with UX design to get right, given the complexity of the equipment rules. New additions include a blocked state that tells players when an item can't be equipped because another item is in the way, indicators for whether a piece is space-worthy, and an improved weight bar at the top of the inventory. So when they say StarWear UI, I think they mean like how it interacts with the inventory system. And you can see this mostly looks like the inventory we have now, but a little more polished. Well, we can go back to the initial place where they showed us that first concept. About a year ago to the date, they showed us this concept. Here's what it looked like at that time. Fairly close to what we have now. We still don't have great stats displays. This is what they're saying it's going to. This is definitely looks more like what we have in game. And you can see it was inspired by this. It got fairly close. But this one is still building on the old concept here. I think specifically what I'm noticing most is the icons and how they look. The new weight bar up here obviously looks a little cleaner. So you could see a little bit more stats here. I think these maybe are the little caution signs that say you can't wear that. I don't know. Maybe that means it's broken. This looks like a honeycomb, 756 quality honeycomb. Here's a moldy sugar cube. And this is a ice cube. I don't know. There's not really too much to see here. Looks a little cleaner. Icons have some more information there, but that's about it. Updates to several core systems were made for Starchitect. Right, just throwing us into the deep end there. We talked about this, right? Benoit earlier. This will fundamentally change how designers place locations and sandbox content across planets. Now, harvestables and loot are context-aware of their surrounding location and environment, so designers can match loot to the environment more easily. For instance, instead of manually placing outlaw-specific loot boxes, the system will now detect that a location is outlaw-controlled and select the right loot type automatically. I want to go back and check something with you guys, because I can remember something, but maybe not exactly. Maybe I'm a little off. Maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but I feel like I've heard this before.
Of tags that they want items in the loot pool to match, and then maybe some that they don't. So you can say I want things that are tagged with weapon, but not things that are tagged with ammunition. And then what really makes it powerful is it's not just a uniform distribution of, okay, we have all of these potential items, just pick one at random. When the designers are specifying tags to use, they can assign a weight to each one and say, I want rifles with a weight of 5, and I want pistols with a weight of 10. So you're twice as likely to get a pistol in this crate.
So we have like full control over how many items spawn, what specifically spawns. We could even, if we wanted to, and I've actually been doing the tagging for this myself, we could actually tell a loot archetype, hey, spawn me a bunch of armor that's red. Your loot archetype could have the weapon.fps.rifle tag as an example, and that would then give you the option of all of the weapons that spawn underneath that, or that are populated underneath that tag structure. And you may then have armor.fps.heavy, which would give you all of the selection of the heavy armors under that. And then it could be gadget.medkit. So
see, I just wondered to myself if like this is the same thing they're talking about. This is like a prerequisite. If this is possibly something, well, I don't know. Let me
have a loot archetype that says, give me any rifle or any heavy piece of armor or any med kit. It's been a lot of work to get it working that way, but all of it sort of works in conjunction with each other, and with some of the future stuff coming down the pipe as well, such as Quanta. The loot generation system actually will...
Oh my god, that just triggered me like a gosh.
Will read from the parent object containers that we use in the game at the moment. So, say you're spawning containers on Hurston. Your main object container would be Hurston. And then let's say you've got Lorville, which would be L19. And then inside that, you might have, let's say that we expand the city and there's like an abandoned hovel underneath that's maybe occupied by pirates. If Quanta decides, oh, okay, so authorities came, cleared that place out, that place is now no longer a pirate base, it's now storage site for Hurston Dynamics, then all of the containers in that area then might switch to be containing Hurston equipment. Quanta can then determine way up the chain, way at the top, this is how things are now happening because AI has moved in, things have happened, things have changed, and the archetypes and the loot generation system reacts on the fly to that. So if Quanta was to decide this planet has been raided, it's been full of conflict, there's been wars here, like people are leaving in droves because it's not safe to be here anymore, the status of that planet, the richness of that planet lowers as well, to the point where then the loot generation system says, okay, where most of these containers might have been 50 to 60% full as they were, now we're only going to fill them up to like 20 to 30%.
Man, so the quantum system sounded so cool, and this is what I'm talking about, dude. This is the same thing with the Genesis stuff. Like they didn't get consistent across the company what the system was called, and so people call it Quanta, and then it gets confusing. Anyways, that's not the reason we watched that. We watched that because that was, I think, pretty similar to this. So let's now reread this and what it said. Harvestables and loot are now context aware of their surrounding locations and environments, so designers can match loot to the environment more easily. For instance, instead of manually placing outlaw-specific loot boxes, the system will now detect that a system is outlaw-controlled and select the right loot type automatically. So, I guess you could say that we're getting part of the quantum system delivered in this. Is that accurate? I mean, I always considered it to be part of the loot system, and that's why I kind of thought this was already part of the game. But if he was more so, it sounds like the tag structure allows them to decide item types, which maybe has been always happening. But this new system allows them to decide things like faction and use case. So I guess it's different. All right, continuing on with the Starchitect conversation, crafting is undergoing similar changes for Starchitect compatibility. I don't know what that would mean, other than like crafting becomes available at locations. And the mission system required significant rework so that designers can set up mission locations and contracts at a much larger scale. This we have talked about a lot. This is all part of this is that fundamental shift. They want to have missions all over the place. They also said freight elevators and security systems are now Starchitect compatible as well. That's a big deal. All of this is pretty... These two actually are the most significant part of this, because this is like, if you got freight elevators working there, then other things must be working there, because they are always late to the party. So it seems like it maybe not polish level kind of stuff, but it is heavy functionality level stuff they're doing here, and they're talking more about it. That's nice. This procedural shift also triggered a broader review of core gameplay systems, so the team rewrote how nav points are handled and accessed to ensure any system reading that data keeps working even when a location is fully streamed out. This will allow Starchitect locations to appear correctly on the star map, be routed to, show up in the quantum travel HUD, and support location inventories for freight elevators. This is some real late stage stuff, actually. This is good that we're reading this. If we weren't reading this kind of stuff about Starchitect, I'd be getting worried about it for the end of the year. With this sort of information, I could see Starchitect still making it in by November, December. For the command module, everyone's favorite, the team provided heavy post-release support, addressing player-reported bugs across hangar and air traffic control interactions. Damage handling, quantum travel markers, locked doors, camera override, star map routing, physics collisions, server transition issues, room atmosphere, and more. Ahead of tech preview and player testing, there we go, the team fixed critical instancing bugs, including players losing ownership of their instance. That's like the worst thing that could happen, I imagine. Players also being incorrectly moved into someone else's instance. That might be worse, actually. Eviction logic was also added, so a player kicked from a party gets teleported to a safe location outside the instance. All right. To support the reworked Siege of Orison, core gameplay gave the designers a way to assign NPCs to defend specific areas, removing the need for complex spawn closet setups inside of instances. The designers can now also set custom respawn locations, for example, sending a player to the nearest medical facility after completing an objective, functioning as a checkpoint system. This is especially valuable for long-form content like Siege of Orison. This is also especially funny because of what we were just talking about, the freaking operations. Siege of Orison is called an operation by CIG. It is FPS focused. It is 2 to 4 players. It puts you in an instance environment to run missions with your friends and get unique unlocks repeatedly, quickly. Get into the battle, get out of it, get back into it quickly. It's the same thing that Elite Dangerous just released. I can't believe that. I think I'm going to just keep coming back to how crazy this is. We got to get an Elite Dangerous and give this a try to see how it actually plays. I've honestly never tried Elite Dangerous's FPS stuff, so maybe it is about time. But this is... I just don't see how this is a coincidence. CIG even calls it an operation. Look at this. Implementing a new operation, Siege of Orison. Come on. What the heck? Either way, they're trying some new things here, giving people the better ability to just keep spawning back in at that spot. I think we saw this kind of in practice in the Onyx facilities, and now they are expanding it more. You can also go back to their medical guide to see them really expanding on this and talking about it. Life, death, and life again beyond 4.3. Here they set up medbed conditions, so now you have certain that are enabled by event, certain ones that are permission editable, certain ones that have a regeneration timer or a temporary imprint, or destructible medbeds. All of these things are what are being added so they can add in situations like this where yes, there's a risk of death. Yes, death means something special, but if there's a regen bed nearby, you're mostly okay. That's how I think they're starting to stick with Death of a Spaceman, in the sense that there's some kind of risk and consequence for dying, but still have a lot of respawns optional through these medical beds. If there's any other sign you need for that to be a reality, it's the freaking respawn screen that they're also going to add. So do I like it? From a gameplay perspective, I kind of do, because if you can still control the rules to the point where like you can limit spawns in certain places and have areas that are extra risky compared to others, then in the places where you do want to have these sort of theme park rides, some people will call them, it is nice to be able to do things quickly. But this is also this is on the same slope as teleport to party leader. All of these things are nice conveniences at first, but at some point they can start to change the design of the game through the removal of risks and consequences. And even if you don't take part in a certain gameplay, a game that relies on a player economy is going to be affected for everyone if certain people can do something differently to get ahead. That's just how it is. And that's why a lot of people think this is dead by design, because of the real world market. For the transport system, shuttles can now be gated behind mission logic, matching functionality already available in the legacy system. The team cleaned up code. That is a key sentence right there. This is basically just them saying that the new version of the transit system, that one that is being used at Grimhex, could not match the old system yet. That's why it's not applied everywhere. So now they've got another functionality at equality to the previous system that we've been using. And the team is cleaning up the code for elevator carriages with a single door, and completed the major work to bring vehicle elevators under the transport system as well, replacing the convoluted elevator setups many vehicles currently rely on. Sorry, English. Work then continued on to the tool set the designers used to build mission content, Subsumption or StarScript maybe, with numerous workflow fixes and optimizations. The devs also began building a mission board UI provider component to support local interactable mission boards, first planned for use at new Starchitect locations. That's a lot of information in one sentence. So mission boards are something we've heard about before. It's the kind of thing that people will hear that we're getting more NPCs with Mobiglass stuff and be like, I want a mission board. We're getting a mission board. We're getting mission boards. They already have them at the Wicklow place. These are just going to be at all the locations they're planting all over the planets now. And this is where I think they're going to get into like the whole local gameplay. They got my cousin. He pooped in the bathroom and clogged the toilet. Can you help with the maintenance? And then you have to go and do like a house maintenance project that turns into some pirates are there to steal the toilet itself, and you have to defend against it, and then you get a reward blueprint because nobody expected you'd be able to do that. Why is somebody hiring a mercenary to defend a toilet? I don't know. You weren't even defending a toilet. Whatever. You can take those missions on mission boards, right? And that's the whole point of this idea of having locations everywhere. In fact, if you go to CitizenCon 2023, there's a pretty good moment where the cat is officially out of the bag on this sort of this idea.
Using this expanded library, we've been able to increase the individual location size because there's less of that obvious repetition between buildings within any single location. And we can't really call some of these large locations outposts anymore. They become something more like settlements and imply a larger and more established community. Now, as a player, it will mean a lot more to explore and do at any single individual location with a localized and personal feeling mission types that might see you moving around a single settlement to complete objectives, or doing short hop missions between clusters of settlements on a single planet.
So this was a first. We didn't really have that idea in our heads before the 23 CitizenCon, but I think that we are now seeing the fruition? Yeah, we'll go with that. Of this idea finding its way into Starchitect with these mission boards and probably a lot of localized gameplay. Progress also continued on bringing back physical mission givers. Yes, we I got to take this opportunity to go do a little bit of a call out. I released this video. This is a supporter exclusive. It did absolutely numbers. There's a comment in here that says, I think it got deleted. Possibly got deleted. It basically was saying that I made the, oh, here it is. So basically, he predicted mission givers back almost a year ago. They haven't returned since, and he still posted his prediction for everyone to see, which is like why I think it's better to read the actual information that's being delivered by the company and not make stupid YouTube comments. But point being, they have been telegraphing that this is going to happen for a while, and while it looks like she's been delayed out of 4.9, Recco Battaglia is going to be the first mission giver back within the next month, I guess. Hopefully, if instancing works. They say players can now receive a one-time comms call from a mission giver when they meet certain conditions, such as entering a specific star system. This actually does happen in 4.9. Recco will call you when you enter Nyx, much in the same way that a fixer will call you when you enter a new neighborhood in Cyberpunk. And I love that. I love to see it. It's exactly what I was hoping for from mission givers. They continue on by saying mission delivery directly to an instance is now supported and is used by various Battaglia missions. This is the only line that makes me think maybe Battaglia herself is an instance and her missions are, but I also think it just might be both. They instance Battaglia missions, you fly out into the open world to travel wherever you're going, get your supplies, do your things, and then when you get to the location itself, you drop into another instance for the mission to play out, and then you back out into the open world. This might be telegraphing how the game itself is going to go, how much they're going to use instances in this game compared to what most people I think are hoping in it just being like closed off environments. But we'll see. We got a couple months to get an idea of this, and I think it's not worth jumping to conclusions beforehand. But I do think that this is going to mean easier to control missions, stuff that can be a lot more story-based, narrative, and unique to the individual, but also some weird situations that we'll probably get to a lot more in the coming months. Either way, big movement on mission in the game. To close out some of the work on the ship hangar services feature, the team added support for missile containers when stacking missiles on a cargo grid. Finally, for social and orgs, chat was re-implemented with a more robust customization tabs. A new location-based channel lets players near a planet chat with others in the vicinity, automatically switching channels as they move between areas. Bro! The team also entered the discovery phase for a reworked Friends app. It's crazy, I know, to cheer for a freaking text chat. I know. I'm not proud. But localized text chat is actually really great. I feel like one of the coolest aspects of landing on a moon that you consider to be deserted, and there is both not a guarantee that people will be there and a guarantee that they won't. It's really cool to then see a text chat pop up from someone you know is also on that moon. I don't know. There's something about it. It makes it feel like you're in a large game with happenstance. Either way, movement on social apps is good, but I imagine this stuff is also slowed down by the reconsiderations they're doing for 4.9. Moving on from core gameplay, which it's tough to do because that was a good time. In June, the Creatures team worked on various improvements to the existing behaviors of the Valacar family. Work on the Apex Sand variant is still underway, with the team refining the gameplay to provide a better experience to players and ships. We talked about this earlier. Work continues, but they're definitely working on it. Pre-production for a brand new Creature family began as well, with exploration around visual identity, silhouettes, combat legibility, and gameplay archetypes going through various rounds of iteration. At this point, I feel like we've heard at least about one other Creature already and not seen it in the game, so I'm not sure what's going on with the Creature team at this point. I don't know how many Creatures they're working on, if it's still just this one, and now they're working on the whole family around it, but why would it be in pre-production? I don't know. We'll come back to this whenever we get some more solid information on it. I will have to remember that the June 2026 monthly report does have creature information. All right, economy section. Last month, the economy team evaluated the economic data from the Alpha 4.8 release and worked to improve some of the underlying systems, such as repair and reclaim. This will allow outliers to be more reasonably priced and the systems to work more intuitively. As boring as this is, I do like seeing balanced stuff happen because at least it means that like some aspect of the economy is maturing. How effective that is, I can't tell you. I don't think I follow pricing specifics enough to be able to evaluate that. But the fact that they're paying attention to at least balancing it in what feels like a downtime for Star Citizen is good. I know it's weird to say it feels like a downtime, but they're focusing on Squadron right now. Mission design. Progress continued on Siege of Orson with the missions team pushing the boundaries of the technology and working through limitations as they come up. The upcoming battalion missions received polish throughout June too, with improvement plans being made to ensure the devs achieve the experience they want. Following the recent armor rebalance, which changed the tag ships used to spawn in combat missions, the team are now beginning to rebalance the mission content, with the first being the defense ship archetype. This is, again, kind of like the economic stuff. I like to see some serious rebalancing going on based on changes that came into the game. That means that the team seems to at least have some time to put towards making sure that their old stuff still feels new. And that's important for a game that moves this fast, updates this much. Narrative. They started the month working with mission design on several parallel events that are scattered across upcoming patches. This will be in tandem with the narrative designers, who will help generate placeholder versions of any scripted lines so review are more reflective of the final experience. This also includes initial passes on mission text, objectives, and markers to further provide context and direction. Narrative also started to break down future patches to understand what additional content might be needed from a performance capture or voiceover perspective. In addition to this, the team continued their evergreen tasks of writing names and descriptions for new items, armor pieces, weapons, ships, and paints. I have been starting to look more and more into the lore for examples of narrative readings I could do, but also for lore videos, because man, the lore it's getting more interesting now that they're able to fill in more of this information. It was around this time last year, I do believe, they were starting to look at storylines for 2026. So they might be looking at how they can start to nudge the storyline towards introducing Castra, which I don't think is going to happen until at the earliest this time next year. Probably more likely at the end of next year. So I'd love to be a fly on the wall of whatever narrative is doing right now. Even if it's not next year, it's probably, or like even if it's not Castra, it's probably still beginning of next year's stuff. Online technology. Over the past month, the Live Tools team made significant progress across all of their internal tools, wrapping up several long-running projects while shipping a steady stream of updates and fixes. That is that's actually a pretty big deal. The Live Tools team is very important. These tools often seem to dictate how quickly folks can get things done because, like, I mean, if you want to nail into a board, you need a working hammer. So that's good to hear. The biggest was the completion of 2 major overhauls to Hex, the internal platform used by player support and operations staff. The first was a full visual and experience redesign called Hex 4.0, which established a fresh look and feel that will guide all future developments on the platform. Hex is how they track things that players do, like reputation, ownerships of stuff, what they've unlocked, things like that. Pretty cool. The second was an expanded set of player investigation tools, which giving player support teams richer information and faster ways to look into player accounts, track item ownership history, and manage entitlements. Multiple Hex releases also went out during this period, delivering new features, improvements, and critical fixes, including security patches to access management and back-end components. Sorry, I was just thinking, as somebody who worked for a company that had custom software, I can attest to how important it is to have a team within the company that develops and knows that software. and I'm sure plenty of you also are in that situation. Like, if you have a company that runs on their own proprietary software, or even some kind of CRM software from like Salesforce or SAP or some other company, you depend on them keeping that software working. You know, it's not like you can just find a problem and then work around it every day and you're good. It's got to work, or else your job won't be efficient. And so hearing that tools are getting completed it makes me excited for the future of the development, but I will wait to see if it leads to any major improvements. It's funny, you always hear the people, it's the tools. It's the tools. Well, here they are. Another one, Bootstrap. This is the tool that helps developers quickly set up and configure their local work environments. The team continued to resolve reliability issues in it. Moreover, they advanced the design phase of a large overhaul aimed at making the overall developer experience significantly smoother. The devs continued to improve how crashes are captured and reported. The improvements made the data richer and more actionable for those investigating issues. Panic Switch, great member of the community, love you, dude. The live incident management tool, that's I guess the other whatever, maybe less known application of that phrase, also received ongoing polish and bug fixes. For instance, the completion of a configuration migration that had been in progress for some time. The team additionally began work on automatically handling crash reports tied to a known hardware issue affecting a specific generation of Intel processors. My boys in blue. This will reduce the manual effort needed from operations staff to triage those incidents. The online services team resolved over 30 bugs across 2 weekly cycles and focused on a mix of upcoming player-facing feature and live game stability work. The biggest area of active development was item recovery, also known as item imprint, the long-awaited feature that will allow players to reclaim items lost due to bugs or crashes. Online services completed a key alignment session with the UI team to nail down how the individual item claim flow will work. This includes how the game handles a player's full list of owned items and lets them selectively recover what's missing. This was talked about in the core gameplay section a lot, but I think it's really funny that if you go back to the item recovery post initially, I don't believe that is what they highlighted as the main reason for doing it. I think they said T1 was mainly focused around, I guess it was the reclaim idea. But I can't remember if it was specifically, loadout and ship registration. Introducing the ability to register your gear and ships at kiosks or ASOP terminals. Not exactly. For the pledge items thing was definitely part of this with the auto registration. But the overall idea of this was the full registration of stuff. Everything. Both stuff you bought with money and stuff in the game. And what I can't tell here is if they're also talking about stuff in the game. Because generally when they say lost due to bugs or crashes, they're talking about, well, not necessarily. I hope this is including stuff in the game. I hope that's something that they make a move on pretty quickly, because I think item recovery tier 1 needs to happen so we can start to have full loss of stuff again, and we can start to move towards the crafting integration of it. Significant work also went into addressing stability issues with the game's mission and contract systems. Dedicated design and technical review sessions were held, and a formal optimization effort was created to rebuild the contract generation process in a more efficient way. Hopefully in a way that doesn't break as much. The global database sharding work, which improves how player data is distributed across servers at scale, was completed. The team also moved deeper into the discovery and design phase for the future crafting and refining system. They held multiple sessions to resolve complex questions around how crafted items interact with player-owned equipment, insurance, and persistent item upgrades. That's good to hear, because there are some pretty complicated things that need to be considered. I'm sure we haven't even thought about yet, but would have loved to hear something more solid about refining by now. I think this could indicate that it's not looking likely this year, but we'll wait and see. R&D. In June, further progress was made to improve the look of gas clouds. Support for a density-based LUT to recolor gas clouds was added, and the phase function that controls how light is scattered was improved. I hate phase functions. Oh god, this just brings me back to vibrations class. Moreover, the min-max ray march path was simplified and optimized. Focus then switched back to ground fog. The new model, which was finalized earlier this year, was added into production. As a finishing touch, support for local height as well as density was added. This is cheaper to evaluate and render, extends the visible range, and improves the modeling aspect of ground fog and its lighting. It will also self-shadow as well as cast shadows, like rain volumes and clouds. Nice. Part of this work includes optimizations for the atmosphere ray marcher. Lastly, broken sub-object culling was fixed. I hope we get some really, really deep fogs inside of valleys that like create a whole different lighting situation. VFX. In June, the VFX team finished the last of their Alpha 4.8 content work by giving the Raylan and Chilui a full pass. Tylenol. The alien visuals are always fun to work on, and the images attached definitely show why. That's from the VFX team. Beyond Alpha 4.8, VFX also started their pass on Siege of Orison to provide a high-impact atmospheric visual. We're going to go with that to help elevate the already intense mission and locations. Work also began on upcoming weapons and vehicles. And there is your monthly report. That was a long one, but a good one. We got a lot of information there, specifically in the core gameplay section, but interesting stuff on economy. A little bit of Starchitect stuff sprinkled throughout, some Valakar updates, creatures, new missions, a lot of mission stuff. I think it was a good update, and we're learning a lot about what might be popping up towards the end of this year, but I am wondering how much of this stuff is more next year, considering the slowdown we are currently seeing. So we will see in the next monthly report. At that point, I'm going to be getting pretty busy. We're going to be getting kind of close to the baby boy, but we will see during the next one how they're doing. And I think that should tell us a little more of what to expect in 4.11 in September and 4.12 in November. But that's that.